Hey everybody! I wanted to go over some basic embroidery supplies and some basic embroidery stitches that you can use to get started on embroidery. So let's get into it. So the first hoop that I like to use are these wood embroidery hoops. These are my go-to and my first pick for any sort of embroidery project because they hug the fabric really well. The second hoop I like to use is this faux wood hoop. These are great for when you finish your project. If you want something a little extra, it just looks very professional and it looks great on the wall. The next one is a vintage metal hoop. They don't really sell these anymore anywhere, but I think they're kind of cool to use. Just be aware that they do leave marks sometimes on the fabric. And the final one I don't use very often, but a lot of people swear by these. They're the plastic hoops. They hug the fabric really well because there's a lip on them. So the first kind of floss that I use is the 6-strand DMC floss, and as you can see, all of the strands will come apart. The second one that I like to use is this pearl cotton floss, and this is braided and it doesn't unravel. My most frequent fabric that I use is this cotton canvas. I use a medium weight. It's really easy to stitch on and it's nice because it doesn't wrinkle or warp when you stitch on it. The next fabric that I like to use is a linen blend or 100% linen. Just make sure with linen blends that the weave is even, otherwise your stitches can look kind of uneven if the actual weave of the fabric is uneven. Denim is another fabric that I really like to use. It's normally medium to heavy weight. The heavier weight can be a little bit trickier to embroider on, but for the most part it looks great with embroidery. The next kind of fabric I like to embroider on is even weave fabric. This comes in thread counts. The lower the count, the larger the holes in the fabric. Felt is another fabric that you can embroider on to make things like patches and it won't unravel. The only thing about felt that's kind of a bummer is that if you make a mistake and you take the stitches out, sometimes you can leave holes in the fabric. The final fabric that I wanted to go over is cross-stitch fabric, also known as Aida fabric. This is another fabric that is an even weave. It's a lot stiffer and it's not really ideal for surface embroidery, but it's great for cross-stitch. The first needle I use is just a normal embroidery needle with a medium-sized eye and a pointy tip. The next type of needle is a tapestry needle. This one has a larger eye and a blunt tip on it, and it's used for things like needlepoint and cross stitch so you don't snag the fabric. The next needle is a chenille needle. I use these a lot too for embroidery. It's got a larger eye on it so you can fit 6 strands of thread in it and a pointy tip. The next needle is a beading needle. As you can see, the eye of the needle is not really tapered at all. It's streamlined with the needle so you can fit beads onto it. So now let's actually get into embroidering. So here's how you set up your hoop. Undo the rings and place the inner ring underneath your fabric. Take your top ring and put it on to the fabric in that inner ring. Press firmly, and then tighten the screw at the top. Pull your fabric tight, make sure it's evenly distributed throughout the hoop, and you're ready to go. Grab a needle and thread, and now we're going to tie a knot at the end of the thread. The first stitch we're going to go over is a basic back stitch. So you're going to come up through the back of your fabric and pull till you hit the knot. and you're going to leave a little bit of space and go back down through your fabric. Now skip a little bit of space and come up through your fabric, and then go down where that initial stitch was made, and continue on. The next stitch is a chain stitch. So you're going to go up through the fabric and then back down through the same hole you came up, catching that loop. Then leave a little bit of space and come up through the fabric and pull the loop tight. And repeat. To finish this stitch, you're just going to go back down at the top of the last loop that you make. The next stitch is called a satin stitch, and it's essentially just putting straight stitches side by side together to fill in a space. This is great for things like flowers or any kind of area that you want filled in with color. I hope this helps you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. These 3 stitches really you can do a lot with, so I'd love to see what you make. Thank you!